Hey guys, welcome to this week's video, which is all about stretch marks. We're gonna learn how to get rid of stretch marks. We're gonna learn about stretch mark creams. We're gonna learn about the treatments for stretch marks. We're gonna learn about everything to do with stretch marks, including the causes. And most importantly, we're gonna look at preventative steps on what you can do to prevent you from getting more stretch marks in the future. So welcome to my channel. If you haven't been here before, we talk about everything healthcare and everything medical. We always look at the evidence so you know it's information that you can trust. So what we're gonna do in this video is we're going to break down all the information in the description below, so feel free to click on a chapter which has got the relevant information that you want if you want to find that information quicker. But as I always say, I'd highly recommend you watch the entire video. That way you're going to become a bit of a stretch mark pro. Also, please don't forget, if you do find any of this information helpful, or if you learned something new today, don't forget to click that like button, because it's going to help me, it's going to help the video grow, so it's going to be available to a much larger audience and help loads of people around the world who might have stretch marks and want information on it as well. Now let's begin. Okay, so let's begin with some science. First of all, stretch marks. They are very normal for us to get. It's part of us being human, okay? So it's very normal for us to have this. In terms of statistics, we're looking at about 90% of pregnant women potentially getting stretch marks. We're looking at about 70% of adolescent women getting stretch marks and 40% of adolescent men getting stretch marks. So as you can see, it's very, very common. So please don't think to yourself you're the only person that has them. Statistics say that a lot of people have them as well, and it's very, very normal for us to have them. So now that we know how common stretch marks are, there is lots of information available online about stretch marks, and unfortunately some of them are myths and not really true, some of the treatments. So we're going to be going through all of that and talking about real science and real science-backed and evidence-backed stuff that you can do to try and help with it and to try and prevent it. Now in terms of stretch marks, why they happen, I'm going to make it really simple. I've got a really good explanation for you. Remember, the skin is the body's largest organ, okay, and the skin can stretch and it can retract, okay. Now I want you to imagine a balloon. This is probably the best way to imagine it. When you've got a balloon that you've never blown, it's all nice and small, but then when you blow it and then it deflates again, that's been blown for a while actually, and it deflates again, it never goes back to that size again. It's a bit wrinkly, it's a bit, unusual looking. It's not like how the balloon was to begin with, and that's kind of how stretch marks happen. It's because that stretch has happened too far for too long and it's unable to retract to its original position. So basically it's that rapid expansion of the skin that causes the stretch marks. Hence why when we have pregnant ladies and they've got a rapid expansion of the skin when they're pregnant, it causes the stretch marks. Or if you put on a lot of weight and then you lose a lot of weight, or for example if you're lifting weights and you're building muscle and it stretches the skin. So all of these can potentially cause it. Now in terms of where do they usually occur, they can occur pretty much anywhere, but generally speaking we usually get them around the stomach, around the shoulder area, sometimes around the armpit area as well. Here where there's a crease, you can get it around the bottom area, around your thighs, so it can generally be all over. And the way it looks is we get this sort of ripple mark, these straight lines on the skin known as stria. Now please do also remember there are many other reasons for stretch marks as well. I'm going to have a little box appear here now. If you want to read more about these, just click pause and give it a read, because it's not just pregnant ladies and people who are weightlifting that can get it. There's loads of other reasons for it as well, so give it a read. Okay, so let's begin with how to get rid of stretch marks. We're first going to begin with some lifestyle tips that everyone can do at home, okay? But let's be very clear right from the start. In terms of treatments, in terms of lifestyle stuff, for example, in terms of creams and stuff like that, there is no cream currently that you can say that you put on a stretch mark and it gets rid of it completely. So please do remember that. And remember, on this channel, we talk about everything that's evidence-based. I'm not going to talk about some hocus pocus remedy that you can make by mixing turmeric and eggs and all this sort of random stuff and sticking it on a stretch mark and it's going to get rid of it, because that sort of stuff doesn't exist, okay? We look at the evidence, and from the evidence, I'm going to tell you the stuff that can help, okay? So please remember, nothing that you apply on the skin is going to get rid of it 100%. Now, there are medical treatments that we're going to talk about afterwards that can potentially get rid of it very, very close to that, okay? But in terms of lifestyle stuff, please remember that by using these, they are going to help it appear a lot better, okay? But it's not going to get rid of it 100%, but it's really going to help make it less noticeable and make it appear much more normal rather than having the stretch mark lines that we're all used to. However, please also remember, there's nothing wrong with having stretch marks as well. So I just wanted to make that very clear right from the start. Okay, so let's begin with tip number one. Tip number one is all about vitamin A formulations, such as retinoids. Now, retinoids can be really good at reducing the appearance of scars, not only just for stretch marks, but also for acne scars, for example. They can be really, really helpful. And the way that retinoids work is it basically causes the turnover of cells, such as skin cells, to happen more rapidly. So it's causing them to die on the top and to turn over more rapidly, okay? And as a result of that, the skin's gonna appear a lot more natural looking and a lot smoother. So it's gonna get rid of those scars by basically causing a rapid turnover of cells on the top. I hope that makes sense. Now retinoids, there are lots of retinoids available, so obviously give it a quick Google search, see which one's the best for you. And also please remember, this is one of the most important things that you need to remember about all vitamin A formulations, such as retinoids or any of them, is that pregnant women should not use retinoids, breastfeeding women should not use retinoids, and also if you're thinking of getting pregnant or trying to get pregnant, please do not use retinoids, okay? This is really important because it can cause lots of problems. Moving on to tip number 2, the next product that I want to recommend is creams containing hyaluronic acid, okay? It's a bit difficult to pronounce. I'm gonna have it written over here for you so you can see. This is a really good cream at potentially helping the elasticity of your skin to improve. There have been a few studies that have shown it to actually do this, and by improving the elasticity of the skin, it's kind of like the balloon theory, let's say, that I said at the start. By the balloon being more elastic, it's going to be able to shrivel back to its normal size, okay? And this is our thought process for the stretch marks, okay? Because it's had that rapid stretch, it's finding it difficult to retract back. So by improving the elasticity with the hyaluronic acid, it's hopefully going to help the appearance of the stretch marks reduce a lot. So moving on to tip number 3. Tip number 3 is all about sugar scrubs, okay? And sugar scrubs actually do have evidence supporting them at helping to fade stretch marks and helping with the appearance of stretch marks. So, how do you do a sugar scrub, I think you're asking. The way you do it is very simple. All you need is probably half a teaspoon of sugar. You can mix that with any oil, such as olive oil or coconut oil, and then use that as a scrub on the area. Let's say that my stretch mark is on my shoulder area here. So when I go for a shower, I'd probably say maximum 2 times a week, no more than 2 times a week, because then you're potentially damaging the skin. So what we're trying to do with the scrub is we're trying to get rid of those dead skin cells to promote the new skin cells to grow and help reduce the appearance. Kind of similar to the retinoid process, but this is more of a physical process that we're doing now, okay? So you're gonna mix that with your coconut oil or your olive oil, the sugar, and place it on there, preferably when you go for a shower, and give it a bit of a scrub. Do not scrub really hard, okay? Please remember, it's your skin at the end of the day, it's sensitive, and all you're gonna do is you're gonna damage the area, okay? It's just a gentle scrub to exfoliate the area. Don't really go in deep, it's not gonna make a massive difference by doing that, okay? Remember, these sort of creams, these processes, we're looking at the long game, okay? It's not a quick cure. You're looking at the long game, so just do it gently, 2 times a week maximum, and then have a nice shower afterwards to get rid of all those skin cells that we've exfoliated. Easy as that. Okay, so I hope you're finding this information helpful so far. Please don't forget, if you found any of this information new or helpful at all, don't forget to click that like button. Moving on to the next tip, aloe vera gels and creams and stuff like that. Aloe vera has been used for thousands of years for patients who suffer from burns, and it's really good at locking in that moisture and hydrating the skin and helping with the scars associated with burns. Now, as stretch marks are a type of scarring as well, there could be potentially evidence that it could help with it as well. So I guess it's another one that we can discuss and make you aware of. Okay, so moving on to tip number 5. Tip number 5 is all about a healthy, balanced diet, and as well as having a healthy gut biome. Look, if you haven't heard about gut biome, it's probably going to be one of the biggest things that we're going to be talking about in the next 5 to 10 years, I imagine. There is a lot of evidence coming all about gut biome, and gut biome basically means your gut bacteria, okay? Because it's a fancy word for it. So, why is this relevant? Because it's in your gut. Well, the bacteria in the gut has been shown now to be linked to many different conditions, such as stress and anxiety, cardiovascular problems, and even skin conditions as well, okay? So certain skin conditions have also been linked to having bad bacteria in the gut. So what does this mean? Well, it turns out that the bacteria in our gut works with us, okay? So it's working with us and it's been keeping us healthy for a long time. And the bacteria in our gut, for example, is also responsible for breaking down certain foods, and also it helps to absorb certain vitamins and minerals as well that we need. So this is why it's super important that we're keeping our gut biome healthy, because it's very easy for us to have a poor, bad gut biome, which is basically in dysbiosis. And dysbiosis means when the bacteria is all over the place, basically, and we've got a lot of bad bacteria compared to good bacteria. So I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, well, how do I increase my gut biome? How do I make my gut biome better? Because if it could potentially help with how my skin appears, then I want to do it. It's going to be very long and complicated for me to explain how to improve your gut biome, but I would really advise you all to have a quick Google on what you can do Some of the most basic things you can do, for example, is not smoking, because that has an effect on your gut biome. Also, having a healthy, balanced diet. And what I mean by that is having a lot of whole foods and not having processed foods, because processed foods have got a bit of everything in them and we don't want that. And diets that are high in sugar are also really not good for your gut biome. And basically, all these processed foods that we have that you can get all have lots of sugar in them, they have lots of complex carbohydrates in them, all of which can potentially make your gut biome go worse. So basically, what you need to have is a diet that's full of fruits and vegetables, and just the vegetable part, for example, you can go as much as you want really. We're talking about whole vegetables, okay? We're not talking about stuff that's been pre-prepared, that's got a bit of vegetables in it, but everything else in it. I'm on about whole foods here, okay? And also making sure that you're not having lots of sugary stuff and takeaways and eating out all the time. All of these are potentially going to affect your gut biome. So if you want a healthy gut biome, basically you need to have a healthy whole food diet, okay? So Google it, find out more of what you can do to help about your gut biome, and this could potentially help with the appearance of your stretch marks, because a healthy gut biome has been linked to good, better looking skin, okay? And reducing the conditions of skin conditions. For example, you know, like eczema patients have had improvements in their eczema when their gut biome is more healthy. There's even been some acne patients that have been helped with having healthier gut biome. So what I'm trying to say here is you need to do some searching, because otherwise I'm going to be talking for ages if I want to do a video all about gut biome and what to do. But this could potentially really help with the appearance of stretch marks as well, because it's going to give us healthier looking skin all over, not just on one area. Now moving on to tip number 6. Tip number 6 is all about vitamin D and sun protection. In terms of vitamin D, here in the UK we recommend everyone to take 1,000 units of vitamin D throughout winter. There's no harm in taking it throughout the year, and especially if you have darker skin as well, it's highly recommended that you take vitamin D every day just to keep your vitamin D levels up, okay? And vitamin D has been linked to skin conditions again as well, such as eczema patients, you know, usually have been found to have a link with low vitamin D. You know, it's been linked with a lot of skin conditions, low vitamin D. So just by supplementing with vitamin D isn't really going to do you any harm. So speak to your healthcare professional about recommending you just a daily vitamin D to take, okay? So have a word with them and make sure that you're safe and suitable to take it. The other thing I want to talk about is sun protection. Make sure that if your area of stretch mark, that you have your stretch mark is visible to the sun, for example, let's say it's on your shoulder and you always wear a vest when you go out, you need to make sure that you're wearing the correct SPF, okay, to protect the skin, because if we don't protect it, potentially that stretch mark is just going to get worse. It's going to be a lot harder to get better, okay? So we need to protect the skin as well, especially if it's visible to the sun. If you want more information on vitamin D and SPF, I'm going to leave links to it up here and in the description below for you. And moving on to tip number 7, we're looking at oils now that you can use. There hasn't been really much evidence to use olive oil or coconut oil or these kinds of oils on the area that the stretch marks are, that they're going to help really. There has been some evidence that bio oil can help with the appearance of stretch marks. There's not loads of evidence on it, but potentially this can also be used. But the only thing about oils, the downside about them is they're messy, aren't they? They get everywhere, they leave a sticky residue everywhere. But if you really want to do it, that is also another option. Okay, so now that we spoke about all the lifestyle tips that you can do, one last thing that I want to say is if you do spot a new stretch mark on a new area, you need to be on it with these lifestyle tips that we spoke about, because the sooner you do these tips, the more it's going to help with the area. The longer you take before you start doing these things, the less likely it's going to be to have much of an effect. But if you do it straight away when you've noticed one, it's going to be much better at fading the appearance of the stretch marks. So I hope that helps. So now that we spoke about the lifestyle tips, the next thing we're going to talk about quickly is the different medical treatments that are available. These are all cosmetic treatments that are available. So first of all, you've got laser therapy, and laser therapy is where they use a laser to punch little holes into the skin, very, very tiny, and this is going to promote collagen production, which then helps the skin blend with the surrounding skin and making that appearance of the stretch marks go away. The second option is something called microdermal abrasion. This is where a tool is used similar to how the sugar scrub works, but much deeper, and the tool is used to brush away those dead skin cells from the top to help promote the regeneration of the skin cells to help fade the appearance of stretch marks. The next thing that we've got is something known as microneedling, and this is going to puncture little tiny holes in the skin, and it's going to promote collagen and elastin, and this is going to help it sort of blend in with the surrounding area and and also it's going to help make the skin a bit tighter, so it's going to pull it, which again is going to help with the appearance of the stretch marks. And lastly, another medical treatment is chemical peels. Chemical peels are where they use a chemical to make the top layer of the skin peel away. This can improve the appearance of stretch marks as well. Now obviously all of these treatments you need to speak to a healthcare professional about them, but they do also exist if you are interested in trying them. But obviously make sure you find a reputable dermatologist and healthcare professional to speak to so they can recommend the best treatment for you. This is just a rough outline of what you can expect and how it works. Okay, so I feel like we're starting to get somewhere now. We spoke about the lifestyle tips on how to get rid of stretch marks, and we spoke about medical treatments available to get rid of stretch marks as well. I just want to say again, please remember, we now know the science behind stretch marks. We now know the evidence-based stuff that's going to help. So please don't fall for a lot of the ads that you see on social media promoting magical cures for stretch marks and how they put this one cream on for a second and then they wipe it away and it's all gone. Because believe me, this sort of stuff really doesn't exist at the moment, okay? So we can do the stuff that we spoke about to help improve the appearance, but none of it is really going to get rid of it 100% in terms of lifestyle stuff. However, if you do speak and want cosmetic treatment, if you speak to your healthcare professional and want cosmetic treatments, these can generally reduce the appearance of stretch marks far more than the lifestyle stuff that we spoke about. But just please remember, don't fall for a lot of the ads that you see on social media. I really hope that you found this information helpful. I'm going to have a little box here as well that appears in terms of when you should speak to a healthcare professional, so make sure you give that a read as well. And like I say at the end of every single video, thank you for watching. As always, sending you all awesome vibes, and I'll see you next week. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk to you about is about hyaluronic, I can't pronounce this, it's difficult. Hyaluronic, I always pronounce it as hyaluronic acid, okay? Terrible. Hyaluronic, okay. Okie dokie. The aloe vera cactus, I think. So this is really gonna help your microbiome and the growth of the, I can't speak anymore. For some strange reason I've just lost the ability to speak in this week's video. Hey guys, thanks for watching this week's video. Make sure to click that like, follow or subscribe button now to stay up to date with new weekly videos.